everyone, it's Warriors NRL Fanatics. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. But before getting into it, I just thought I come on here and say hello to everyone. This is a Q&A, so if you can hear me, let me know in the live chat. Let me know if there's any issues. If it's all clear, let me know in the comment section below. But hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having a good evening so far, and hope you're all doing well. And if you got any questions rugby league related, whether to do with this season's NRL or the upcoming Rugby League World Cup, any questions, send them through, and I will definitely answer them so as best as I can. So if you've got questions, make sure you do send them in, as this is a Rugby League Q&A. So any Rugby League related questions, whether to do with the NRL this year or the upcoming Rugby League World Cup, which is coming up this week. So I'll just pop in here to the chat here. So TJC Sports says no issues at all, bro. That's good to hear. Hello to SS Storm fan. Hello to Josh Rabbitohs 2022. Hello to Peripy. If you've got any questions, send them through and I'll answer them. So any rugby league questions you have, send them through. So SS Storm fans asked me a question here. I'll get through it. So he's asking thoughts on Ellie Katoa joining the Melbourne Storm next year. Look, I'm disappointed. Obviously, I preferred we kept Ellie Katoa. I mean, Katoa hasn't had his best couple of years. I think his best year was his rookie year under Andrew McFadden. Not Andrew McFadden, sorry. It was under Todd Payten. His best years were under Todd Payten. So I think the past couple of years, Katoa hasn't been his best, but I think he's still a very good young talent, and I think Melbourne will make the most of him. I think they'll get the best out of him because he's going under a great system there. So obviously I'm gutted, disappointed, but I'm also happy that he's going to a good system like the Melbourne Storm as well. So, good luck to him. So, question here. G'day from Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia to Flash to Targo. How are you doing? TJC Sports is asking thoughts on Reece Walsh off to the Broncos. Look, I think Reece Walsh, he's a very good talent, good young player, and, no doubt about it. He was one of my favourites when he was at the Warriors, but obviously he wants to go back to Brisbane due to family reasons. So, good luck to him next year. I think he'll do pretty well there at the Broncos. I think with the side they got next year, I think they'll do pretty well. So, good luck to Reece Walsh. He's a very good talent. So, what's this? Cody Games PlayStation saying here, who will get the first bye in round 1 next year? Good question, Cody Games PlayStation. Really good question. That's a tough one to answer, but if I had to take a pot guess here, I'd probably say, with 17 teams next year, obviously there's going to be some teams that will have a bye. Good question. I will probably say, I'll say the Tigers. I'll just take a guess here and say the West Tigers. I think they may get a bye. Josh Rabbitohs 2022. How are you going, Josh Rabbitohs 2022? He's asking where will Martin Tapau end up? Good question. I'm hearing that South Sydney Rabbitohs are a team that he may end up with. I mean, even the West Tigers possibly, but I think he'll go to the Rabbitohs. Actually, I think he might sign with the Rabbitohs next year. I think he'll go there. SS Storm fans asking, should the West Tigers miss out on Magic Round next year? Look, for me, if you're the team finishing last and getting the wooden spoon, I think the team should be missing out on the finals if you get a wooden spoon. So I'll definitely say yes. I think they should, but I don't know if they will. That's a question that I'm not too sure about, but I think they should miss out, but I don't think they will miss out. Edmund Dusty, how are you going? He's saying who will get Magic Round off? Look, I think the Warriors will definitely play Magic Round. I don't see the Warriors getting off Magic Round. Obviously, they'll already see in the draw that they're going to be having Magic Round in Brisbane. So, look, I think for me, I think the Dragons. Because I don't think the Dragons are, a team that will get like a lot, of although they've got a good membership base, I believe, but I think maybe the Dragons. But just a guess here. Josh Rabbitohs 2022 is asking how do you think Dylan Walker will do at the Warriors next year? Look, good question. I think Dylan Walker is an experienced player. Look, I don't know whether he'll be starting. I think he'd be a utility off the bench somewhere, but I don't know. We'll see. I think he may go well. You never know. I mean, he isn't getting any younger, Dylan Walker, but he's an experienced player and he's won premierships and that, so he's done pretty well in his career. Cody Games PlayStation saying who was the most disappointing team this year other than the West Tigers? Look, I'll probably say the Manly Seagulls. Yeah, I'm going to say the Seagulls, and Seagulls fans might be disappointed to hear this, but look, I think the Seagulls because they made the top 4 last year, and although Tommy Trbojevic was injured throughout the season, I think they were pretty disappointing actually, and I thought they'd be a top 4 side. So yeah, even if Tommy wasn't there, I thought they'd be in at least top 8. So I'll say Manly for sure. I think they've been very disappointing this season. SS Storm fan is asking who was the improved NRL club this year. I probably will say, look, I know the Bulldogs had a very tough start to the season, but at the back end of the year, I think the Bulldogs were quite the most improved, even though they didn't finish in the top 8. So I might say the Bulldogs here. I mean, that might be a shock and surprise to everyone, but I've gone with the Bulldogs. I think they've been the most improved, and I think they'll do a little bit better next year, and I think they might even make the top 8. You never know. Thoughts on the Redcliffe Dolphins signings at the moment? I think they've been pretty underwhelming, actually. I've been pretty disappointed with the Dolphins signings. I was expecting them to sign someone like a Kalen Ponga or a Reece Walsh. They've missed out on Cameron Munster. So, look, so far, I think, yes, they're good, experienced players, but they're not really, players that you can build your club around. They're good players, no doubt about it. But, yeah, look, I think they've been disappointing, to be quite honest. I think they could do a lot better with their signings. TJC Sports is asking, how will Redcliffe Dolphins do next year? Look, I think the Redcliffe Dolphins, that's a very tough one to answer, actually. Look, I don't want to give away. I don't want to do predictions now because it's too early to do predictions. I'll probably say they'll struggle in their first year. I think it'll be a struggle, but we'll see what happens. Eamon Duffy's asking, will this be the closest Rugby League World Cup in history? I do hope so. I really hope it's a very competitive Rugby League World Cup. You've got some very different teams, the likes of Jamaica, Greece. You got all those teams in there. I hope it's a close World Cup. I really do. I really hope it's competitive. Obviously, you still got your New Zealand, Australia, your England, your Tongas. You still got those teams. But yeah, I do hope it's a very close Rugby League World Cup, and I hope it's a very competitive as well. But obviously, you'll have some games where there'll be some one-side scorelines as well. I still think we'll still see some big scorelines because the likes of Greece and Jamaica, I think they'll struggle. So, yeah. Who was your most all-time favorite Warriors player? My all-time favorite Warriors player is Stacey Jones. Stacey Jones was one of my idols growing up watching the Warriors, so Stacey Jones is my favourite player. And for those of you who don't know, I did get a photo with Stacey Jones earlier this year, and as I went to the Warriors game in Redcliffe, and I got a photo with him afterwards, which was awesome. So that was my first photo I had with him. So yeah, that was great. Bandit Healer, how are you doing, Bandit Healer? He's saying, who do you have in the Rugby League World Cup final? Look, as a Kiwis fan, obviously I'm going to be completely biased, and I'll say New Zealand. Hopefully, we'll be in there, and I reckon we will be in there because I reckon we have the team to do it. It'll probably be New Zealand versus maybe a Tonga or Samoa. I think we'll meet in the final because New Zealand and Australia can't meet in the final because they're on the other side of the draw. So, for those of you who don't know, they can't meet in the final, so they can only meet in the semis. So, I'll say the Kiwis, maybe versus Tonga. Who do you think will win the World Cup? Just to answer your point, it's New Zealand for me. I really am backing the boys, New Zealand, to get the job done, and I reckon we can win it this year. I think Australia are definitely beatable, and I reckon they can be beaten in the semi-finals. So I'll say New Zealand. Cody Games PlayStation asking us, should Magic Round be moved to New Zealand after next year? Look, I'd love to see it happen. Definitely, for sure. I think it'd be great for, the game of rugby league in New Zealand because, look, we've had some tough couple of years with COVID and that, and the Warriors have not played at home for a couple of years. So I love to see it in New Zealand, but I really don't see the NRL moving it anytime soon. And I think it'll probably remain in Australia, unfortunately. But I do hope the NRL can do something and give New Zealand something back because the Warriors this next year aren't going to get as many home games. They're going to give us a couple of home games in New Zealand, which I find is ridiculous. I thought we should have a little bit more. But I hope one day, yeah, for sure, one day, but probably not next year. Probably not after next year. Let's go Bulldogs. How's it going? Let's go Bulldogs. He's asking, what's your bold predictions for 2023? Look, I don't like making predictions this early because it's only early. And look, I really don't want to make one right now. So, look, I probably won't answer that question. But, look, I do hope the Warriors make finals next year. So, I'm just going to leave it at that. So, yeah, I won't make a prediction now. It's too early for predictions. So Bandit Healer's asking, when do you think New Zealand will host the Rugby League World Cup? Look, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't see it happening anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, look, New Zealand has been hosting a ton of sporting events over the past couple of years, but look, right now, I don't think New Zealand's financially able to host the Rugby League World Cup, because of the last couple of years due to COVID. So probably not yet, probably not in the next couple of years, unfortunately. Pro Enzo Vids, how you doing, Pro Enzo Vids? He's asking thoughts on Hazler leaving Manly. Yeah, look, I personally, I am a big fan of Des Hazler. I think he's an all right coach. I mean, look, Manly haven't done too badly under him over the past couple of years. This year they struggled, obviously. They didn't make the finals this year, and they made the top four the previous years. So, look, I don't know if you can put the blame on Des Hazler. Obviously, Manly, they've got the players, they've got the caliber of the squad. So, yeah, look, I probably think if he's leaving, I don't know who you bring in there. There's talks around Seabolt. There's talks around a couple of other coaches in there. But, yeah, look, I like Des Hazler. I think he's not a bad coach. So, yeah, I think for me, he's a coach which, he's a different sort of coach. He's really a different sort of coach. He's a little bit of an old-fashioned sort of coach. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it'll be a bit of a shock if he does not coach next year. Pro Enzo Vid saying he's just about to. All right, fair enough. Let's go Bulldogs saying, if there's one person you would want the Warriors to get, who would it be as a player? Oh, that's a very good question. Let's go Bulldogs. Well, look, there's a player that, right, if you look at the past and how many Warriors players, look, you got the likes of Kevin Campion. I think he was one of those hard-nosed type of players. Simon Mannering, played for the jersey, the passion he brought, the energy, very underrated. You had Steve Price, another good player in the past. I'm going to say Kevin Campion, actually. I think because he's a hard-nosed player and, he's a player that just puts in a lot of effort and his attitude's great towards the game. So I'll say Kevin Campion as a past Warriors player. I think he was quite good back then. I was at the New Zealand Warriors game at Redcliffe as well, but it was in a wheelchair with a broken tibia and fibula. Oh, well, really? That's a new story there. Jason Reader, how you doing, Jason Reader? He's asking here, how will the Roosters go next season? Look, the Roosters will go well next year, no doubt about it. I mean, this year, look, I kind of, thought they'd do a lot better than they did. I had them in my top 4. I actually had them as my minor premiers in my predictions, believe it or not. So I really did get that prediction completely wrong. And yeah, I thought with the side they had, they were going to do quite well. But I think next year, with Brandon Smith coming, I think they'll be a real dangerous side. Tedesco, Carey, they've got a very good team. So I think they'll be up there next year. Let's Go Bulldogs is asking, what do you think about Burner resigning with the Bulldogs for 4 more years? Oh, is that true? Let's Go Bulldogs. I haven't heard of that news yet. So if that's true, well, that'd be great. Actually, that's good for the Bulldogs, really. I mean, a good young player. You know, there's talks that he was going to go to another club. But I think for the Bulldogs, obviously, it's important for them to keep him long term. So yeah, Matt Burton's a good young player, and the Australian side, you've got to pick for the Australian side as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a good signing if he does re-sign for the next 4 years. Sam's asking here, who should be the Warriors centres next year? I'm hoping for CNK and the GOAT Villia. Yeah, I mean, look, I think, with the centres next year, I think it'd be someone like Vilami Villia. I hope it's not Adam Pompey, because I'm personally not a big fan of him. Look, I think he's an all right player, but look, I wouldn't start him particularly. So, yeah, I definitely have Viliami Villia in the centres next year for sure. I think he's had a good year for us and a big future in that. So, yeah. National Sports Loaded. How's it going, National Sports Loaded? Hope you're doing well. He's asking, what's your thoughts on the Cook Islands squad for the World Cup? Yeah, National Sports Loaded. I think it's not a bad squad, but is it a squad that's going to be capable of threatening the other teams as World Cup? I'm not too sure. I think they're a team that can upset anyone on their day, but yeah, I don't see them doing much, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, maybe the upset there and then, but look, I don't really see them doing a lot, to be fair. Do you think the Warriors need a new halfback to replace Johnson? Look, I think Sean Johnson has had a disappointing year in the NRL for the Warriors as well. And look, I think next year, I think he'll still be our starting halfback. I mean, maybe next year will be his last year. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see how he goes next season. But I think he will be in the halves with Tamari Martin next season. Thoughts on Cameron Munster re-signing with us as SS Storm fan? Cameron Munster, it's great news for the Storm. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk around him over, the last couple of months this year. And look, he is a great player, Queensland representative, Australian representative. And look, I think, there was a lot of money being thrown at him by the Dolphins, and I was kind of shocked, actually. I thought he was going to go to the Dolphins. I thought he was leaving the Storm. So, yeah, I mean, great re-signing by the Melbourne Storm, and a very important re-signing that, because I think if he left, I mean, who would the Storm halves be? I mean, they still had Jerome Hughes there, but it would have been a big loss. Peripy is asking, how will the Warriors go next season? Look, I don't know. I honestly can't answer that one because it's a hard one. The Warriors have got a new coach next season. Andrew Webster's coming on board. We've got a few new signings. Luke Metcalf, Tamari Martin, Ronald Volkman. We've got a few new players coming, new coaches. Andrew McFadden's also coming back on board as part of the recruitment there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I can't give a prediction right now on the Warriors. Obviously, I'll wait till the off-season until you guys see my prediction there on them. But hopefully we go well next year. I'm not going to get my hopes up too highly, though. We'll see what happens. Eggman Duffy's asking, will Stewart get sacked? Raiders were very lucky, and will Storm be good again all time? Will Bellamy to go? Look, I think Richie Stewart getting a sack from the Raiders, very lucky. Well, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't sack Ricky Stewart. Look, although even if they missed the final, I think Ricky Stewart would have been around again next year anyway. So no, I don't think he was lucky. And Storm being good again. Look, I think the Storm, you can't write them off. Every year people say that the Storm are declining, but every season, they're always up there. So I think the Storm will definitely be up there again next year. They are beatable. They're not the same team as they once were, but I think they're still going to be in contention next year for, the Premiership. And Craig Bellamy, Craig Bellamy, I think maybe next year will be his last year at the Storm. And I don't think, if Storm don't win the Premiership next year, I think maybe Bellamy may retire. So, yeah, I think he'll still be there at the end of next year. Just going through your comments here, everyone, so just bear with me. Cody Games PlayStation saying, who was the best buy this year? I'll probably say Nicholas Hines for Cronulla. Yeah, because you look what he did with the Sharks this year. The Sharks finished second on the ladder. Look, to be completely honest, I thought the Sharks did have a soft draw to end the season off, but Nicholas Hines winning the Dally M shows that he was the signing of the year for me. So he was the best signing by far. But there's quite a few players that could put their hand up there as well. So, yeah, Nicholas Hines for me. Let's Go Bulldogs says, do you see any coaches getting sacked next year? There will be a few. NRL, there's always a coach that gets sacked mid-season. So I think there'll be a couple in the firing line next year and under pressure. I think Justin Holbrook for the Titans is under pressure next year because the Titans had a very poor season this year. And, I think this just to name a few there. I think Justin Holbrook, definitely. I think he'll be under pressure. Sam is asking, I was saying here, I definitely don't want Pompey starting as I've had too many chances this year. Yeah, fair enough. If you had to be any NRL player in history, past or present, who would you want to be, not from the New Zealand Warriors? If you had to be any NRL player. So, look, any NRL player in history, past or present. So a player that I wanted to be. Well, if you pick a player, you've got to go with someone like a halfback sort of player, like maybe someone like a Cooper Cronk, someone like a Billy Slater. I think, those players, because they were so smart in the game. So I'll probably go with them, actually. Sam's asking, who do you think Shaun Johnson would be better with him living at home with his wife and baby? Yeah, he has. To be fair to him, he has had it tough this year. Homesickness and being away from his wife and baby, which will probably make him better next year. Just their happiness and being with his family again. So you do have a good point there, Sam. Actually, you really do have a good point. But I hope so. I hope next year can be a good year for Shaun Johnson because he's not getting any younger. So, look, fingers crossed. I really do. I hope next year he will be good. National Sports Loaded saying here, which Super League player would be the best in the World Cup this year? Ooh, National Sports Loaded, good question. Look, for me, if you're looking in England's side, I think it'd be Jack Wellsby, from the Super League. He's a young player, and he's one player that I would watch out for, actually, Jack Wellsby. So, yeah, I'd watch out for him, actually. I think he's a good talent, and he's played well. He's been playing well this year as well. So I'll go with Jack Wellsby. Let's Go Bulldogs is saying here, who is your favourite team to watch other than the Warriors? So, yeah, good question, actually, because I follow a lot of sporting teams, not just the Warriors. I do follow quite a few sports. I follow my rugby union. I follow my cricket. I follow my motorsport. I'm a sports fanatic as they come. So, favourite sporting team to watch, probably the All Blacks, the New Zealand Kiwis in the rugby league. There's quite a few, like the New Zealand Breakers, NBL. I've got a ton of sporting teams that I follow. Football as well. I follow a bit of football. My Premier League team I follow is Manchester City. So I've got a ton of sporting teams that I follow. So, yeah. So Warriors aren't the only sporting team that I follow and watch very closely. And, I've got a ton of them. Who will have a breakout season for the Warriors? Peripy, if you're talking about this year and who had a breakout year, I'll probably say Viliami Valia. I'll probably say Edward Cozy as well. I've got two players that I thought had a breakout year next year, and I think they will have I think they will be in for a big year next year as well. SS Storm fan says, we haven't lost a round one game since 2001. Yeah, it's an incredible record that Melbourne haven't lost round one since 2001. That's a remarkable record. But I think look, maybe next year it could be broken. Who knows? I mean, you never know. TJC Sports says Hines is the big reason they got second. Yeah, I think Sharks got second mainly because Nicholas Hines had a brilliant season. Even the likes of Matt Moylan had a pretty good year as well. Ronaldo and Willie Tarlo was good. It's also, I think the Sharks, although I do say that, no disrespect, but the Sharks did only finish second because they had a pretty soft, easy draw to finish the year. So, yes, they may have finished second, but they were, they probably should have done a lot better. I mean, they should have at least made week 3 or grand final, and they bombed down straight sets. So that's the disappointing thing for the Sharks. TJC Sports has asked the question, your least favourite NRL player. Oh, there's quite a few. I'll probably say, actually, I'll name one, and I'll go with Felice Kafusi. Yeah, I just think he's an absolute grub. So, Felice Kafusi for me. Do you think that Tim Sheens can turn around the Tigers in 2023? Well, they've got I think it's Cameron Serrato that's the coach next year, I believe. Cameron Serrato. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but actually, no. Cameron Serrato's coaching the Bulldogs. Actually, I'm wrong. Cameron Serrato's coaching the Bulldogs. I don't know the Tigers. Yeah, look. That's a tough one. It's a hard one to get a read on the West Tigers because they're so inconsistent, the West Tigers. So I'm not too sure whether Tim Sheens can turn it around next year. They've got Benji coming on board, I believe. So who knows? I'm for Tigers fans' sakes, they'd be hoping so because they had a couple of disappointing seasons. Serrato is coaching the Bulldogs. Yeah, I got that completely wrong. I thought he was coaching the Bulldogs. Most overrated player in the NRL right now. I'm going to go with Talakai. Yeah, I'm going to go with Seafair Talakai. I think he's a little bit overrated, in my opinion. I'll go Talakai. I think he's a bit overrated. The most underrated NRL player currently? Well, it's got to be Dylan Edwards, but Dylan Edwards has been talked about a lot more now. So is he really underrated? Probably not now because he's had a great season, and Dylan Edwards should have been picked in that Australian squad, and he should have got the fullback of the year over Tedesco for me. So, Dylan Edwards for sure, and he won the Clive Churchill medal. So Dylan Edwards is definitely a very underrated player. Second favourite team in the NRL. I don't have a second favourite team. My team is basically just the Warriors, and I just stand being neutral for the other teams. So, yeah, no second favourite team, no. Only just the Warriors. Sam saying Jason Sabb is underrated, is overrated apparently to Sam. Here is only has speed. I don't know if he's overrated. I mean, I probably disagree with you on that one, but fair enough. It's your opinion. But guys, don't forget, if you haven't already, make sure you like the live stream. Click the like button on the live stream. Share the live stream around. And if you are a new viewer to the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe because we are getting very close to 1,400 subscribers. We're really close to that 1,400 mark. And the goal is to get to 2K subscribers by next year. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it helps the channel a lot. So make sure you subscribe. So, yeah, keep asking your questions, guys, and I'll just keep going through them. Make sure you like the live stream as well. Right, TJC Sports asking, do you have a least favourite team in the NRL? I do have a least favourite team in the NRL, and that is the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. As people should really know by now who my least favourite team is, but if you don't know, it is the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. It's my least favourite team. SS Storm fan is saying here that Harry Grant is underrated. I think Harry Grant's had a great year. And look, I think I was surprised he didn't get the hooker of the year. Actually, I think he deserves to get somewhere in that hooker of the year sort of, award. But Harry Grant's definitely rated. I do like Harry Grant. I think he's a very good player. What is your player to keep an eye on in 2023? Well, that's a good question. Let's go Bulldogs. I can't really answer that one, to be fair. I mean, you'd probably say the players that had good years this year. You kind of expect them to have a good year next year as well. The likes of, your Matt Burdens and that, and, your Nathan Cleary's. I'll probably just say this year's players just to answer your question there. I mean, this year's players have a good year next year, maybe, and I think a player for me to watch from a Warriors fan is probably Viliami Valia. I think Viliami Valia for sure. I think he had a good year this year. He won the Rookie of the Year for the Warriors, and I think he'll be a player to watch for the Warriors next season. Cody Games PlayStation's asking me a good question, and this is a very tough one to answer. I'll try and answer it. Who do you think will kick off the season opener next year? Look, I think it'll be the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins, I think the NRL will want to get them involved in their first game of the year. So also the Dolphins maybe taking on the Brisbane Broncos in the first game to open up the season. I mean, wouldn't that be a dream game to open up the season between those sides? So I've always said the Dolphins and the Broncos here, Brisbane Broncos and the Dolphins. SC Storm fan here saying Jerome Luai is a grub. Yeah, fair enough. Was this your favourite Premier League player? Okay, so my favourite Premier League player currently is Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland from Manchester City. The new signing. He's been going great guns this year, so it's Erling Haaland for me. But back to the rugby league now. So National Sports Loaded is asking a question. How do you think Elias Katoa will go for the Storm next year? Look, National Sports Loaded, I have already answered this question, but because you probably haven't seen it and you've just come into the live stream, I reckon he will do very well at the Melbourne Storm next year because he's under Craig Bellamy, and Craig Bellamy knows how to get the best out of young players. So I reckon he'll go pretty well. Do you think the NRL should have 18 teams? Look, right now I think 17 is enough. I mean, does the NRL have the talent to expand to another team? No, not currently, in my opinion. I think, even 17 teams, I still question whether we're rushing to get 17 teams in this is the right move. So right now, I'll probably say no. I don't think the NRL should have 18 teams at the moment. So, yeah, look, I mean, the Dolphins coming in next year, we'll see how they go, but at the moment, currently, no. Let's go Bulldogs is asking, who's your underdog for the World Cup? Underdog for the World Cup, good question. I will probably say Samoa. Samoa will be my underdog for the Rugby League World Cup this year. I mean, look at the side they've got. They've got Penrith players. Yeah, they've got pretty much Jerome Luai. They've got your outside backs of Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton. That's pretty much a Penrith side altogether. So, yeah. I think they'll go. I think the Samoan side will go pretty well. So they're my underdogs for the World Cup. Would you change any rules in the NRL if you could? Yes, I would. Absolutely, I would. I would change the 6 again rule, and I would also, I'd change the 6 again rule. I'd get rid of it completely. I'm not a big fan of the 6 again, and that's what I'd probably take out of the NRL, the 6 again call. Your most favourite player at the moment? Favourite player? Some people might not like this answer, but it is from the Penrith Panthers, the current premiers, the back-to-back premiers. And I'll say Nathan Cleary. Nathan Cleary is my favourite player. Yeah, so I'll go Nathan Cleary. Let's go Bulldogs. Is saying, do you think the bunker should go? Absolutely. I do not like the bunker whatsoever. It's just too much technology, and I think it definitely should go. I'm not a big fan of the bunker. I think it's a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. So I think the bunker should go. The 6 again rule is so bad sometimes. It is. But I think this year it's sort of slowing down. I mean, we saw last couple of years it played a big factor in the game, and you saw big scorelines. You saw one-sided scorelines, which, because teams just can't defend on their line, and the 6 again really affects that. So I think this year, I think it's been a lot better. We haven't seen it too much, which is great. I think they've slowed down on the 6 again calls and that, but I'm just not a big fan of it altogether. So yeah, man, I'll probably get rid of the 6 again. SS Storm fan says here, do you think the captain's challenge should stay? Look, I think the captain's challenge is, it's a debatable one, is it? Because one, you can get a good captain's challenge and you keep the challenge. Next, you have a terrible one and it's gone completely. I think if you only get one challenge, I think there should be more than one challenge. I mean, one and it's completely gone. You use up a captain's challenge, it's gone completely. So, yeah, I mean, I think it will probably stay anyways. Do I think it should stay? Oh, I don't mind it. I mean, I don't really mind the captain's challenge, to be completely honest. But guys, if you got any more questions, send them through. I'll probably only be on here for a couple more minutes, so keep sending your questions through and I'll just answer them. Any NRL-related rugby league questions, send them through the live chat if you are watching. Also, don't forget to like the live stream as well. If you are a new viewer, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. There's another question here. So 685 NS has asked, does the Warriors make the top 8 next year? Look, I can't really answer your question there, but I do hope we can make the top 8 next year for sure. Right now, I can't really make a prediction on the Warriors because it's too early to make a prediction. I mean, there's people that bring out NRL ladder predictions right now, and I'm thinking, why are they bringing out ladder predictions this early? It's only October, so I can't really give you a prediction for the Warriors right now. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I will be doing a predictions video next year, so I can't really give you a prediction on the Warriors, but hopefully we can make the 8 next year, but I wouldn't really say if we'll make it or not. SS Storm fan here is giving us Melbourne Storm backs for 2023. So fullback Ryan Pappenhausen, George Jennings, Remus Smith, Justin Olam, and Xavier Coates. Look, that's a very good. Oh, that's a very good back 5 there. I like it. SS Storm fan, I can't argue with your back 5. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Pappenhausen, everyone's going to remember that. Ryan Pappenhausen is another good young player as well, but he had an injury-riddled season. So, look, fingers crossed Ryan Pappenhausen has a good year next year. I really like him. If there's a favourite player from the Melbourne Storm I had to pick, it's Ryan Pappenhausen for sure. I think he's a player that I really like and I enjoy watching. So, hopefully next year he stays injury-free for the Melbourne Storm as well. And, for the NRL's sake, because when he's playing, he's a good player. Cody Games PlayStation is saying here, how do you think the NRL draw will work next year with all teams having 3 buys each? Cody Games PlayStation, that's a very tough question, but if you're looking at the NRL draw next year, well, that's really tough. I mean, look, for me, look, yeah, you'll have a couple of teams making the bye. Like you said, they're free buys. There's teams that will have 3 buys each. So who bloody knows? Who bloody knows? I mean, that's tough. It's a tough one to answer. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Once the NRL announces the draw, which I'm looking forward to seeing. There will be a video on this YouTube channel giving my thoughts, but yeah, hard to say with that one. Electrical Dust is saying hello. How's it going, Electrical Dust? Let's Go Bulldogs is asking here: New South Wales or Queensland to win an Origin next year? Well, New South Wales definitely bombed it this year. I'm a Queensland fan, so I'm happy that they did. Can Queensland back it up next year? Well, hopefully. I'm a Queensland fan, so I'm hoping they do. Who wins it next year? Who knows? Too early to predict, really. But hopefully, as a Queensland fan, I'm obviously hoping they win it next year. 685 NS is asking who you follow in State of Origin. Why? I follow the Queensland Maroons because I live in Queensland, and yeah, that's the only reason. That's the reason why I support them. So Queensland for me. Electrical Dust is saying multiple teams will have a bye in the same round. Yep, absolutely. What's this? New Zealand Warriors back line. Okay, so we'll read it out. So we've got Chance Nicoll-Klokstad at fullback or Tamari Martin, Edward Cozy on the wing, Valia in the centres, Dylan Walker, and Dejan Arce on the wing. Well, Dejan Arce won't be at the Warriors next year. He is not going to be here next year. I don't know if you know that, but he will not be at the Warriors next year. So I don't think Dejan Arce probably won't be in the Warriors team. So, but I reckon the fullback position will be CNK. Tamari Martin will be in the halves with Sean Johnson. This is just what I reckon. This is my guess at the moment. Edward Cozy will be on the wing. Valia will be in the centres. That would be my backline. Let's Go Bulldogs is saying here, thoughts on Tamari Martin joining the Warriors from the Broncos. Oh, it's great. Tamari Martin's coming home to New Zealand next year. I reckon it's awesome. I think for me, Tamari Martin's had a tough. I think he's had that health issue, and he's come back and he's played pretty well for the Broncos as well. So yeah, looking forward to Tamari Martin the Warriors next year. He's a good talent, very good talent. Peripy is saying here, do you think the 2-point field goal should stay? No, I'm not a big fan of the 2-point field goal. Not a fan of it whatsoever. I don't like it. And look, I think it just stays 1 point. That's what the field goal is. It's 1 point for me. So, no, I'm not a big fan of the 2-point field goal. Electrical Dust is saying, what do you think of the referees? Referees at the Rugby League World Cup. Interesting selections. Hopefully they don't balls up and make bad decisions, which costs teams results. So yeah, I mean, not really much to add on that one. Just hope that they have a consistent World Cup and they don't make any terrible decisions. Klein and Atkins will be referees in some games of the World Cup. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ashley Klein. I reckon Luke Garner will replace Episode Coruscant as a hooker at the Penrith Panthers. I'm not too sure if you're taking the piss or being serious here, Flash Targo. I'm not too sure whether you are being serious or not. But interesting comment if you are. How many sin bins in the World Cup? Well, we'll take a rough guess. Who knows? It could be anything. It could be a ton. Hopefully not many, but it could be a ton. Flash Tago says here, I did not know that Dejan Arce was leaving the New Zealand Warriors. Yeah, he is leaving the Warriors. He won't be here with us next year, which I personally would have kept them, but anyways, it's what it is. 5NS is asking who wins in the World Cup semi-final, Kiwis or Kangaroos. Well, if it does end up being a Kiwis-Kangaroos semi-final, obviously I'm a Kiwi supporter and I'm a New Zealander, so I would obviously be saying the Kiwis as a biased fan as myself. But obviously, head will probably say Kangaroos, but heart is Kiwis all the way for sure. So hopefully Kiwis, when they make the semi-finals, hopefully they beat the Kangaroos and knock them out, because I don't want to see the Kangaroos win the Rugby League World Cup this year. I want to see someone different win it. It'd be good for the international game if, the Kangaroos don't win it this year. Top try scorer at the World Cup. Good question, Electrical Dust. I'll probably say someone like that's a very good question. I will say it'll be a winger or a fullback. It's usually a winger that's, your top try scorer. So maybe someone like a Sione Katoa, or someone like that. I'll probably say, you go, maybe Alex Johnston's. I'll probably say someone like an Alex Johnston. Yeah, Alex Johnston, because he's a guy that can score many tries, and I think he'll score quite a few. Electrical Dust is asking, what do you think of the finals format in the World Cup? I'm not a fan personally. Yeah, I mean, look, I looking at it and how it's formatted, it is a bit confusing. I mean, I haven't read too much on the Rugby League World Cup finals format, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. So that's all I could say about that one. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, could be anything. Sup says Vian. How's it going, Vian? TJC Sports says Luke Garner's going to be class for the Panthers. Let's Go Bulldogs is saying here, do you think Alex Johnston can break the record of being the top try scorer of all time? Well, if he stays injury-free, definitely. I think he's a player that doesn't get a lot of reps. He's a player that's, doesn't get picked for New South Wales. Obviously he's playing for PNG, so he wouldn't be picked for Australia either. But he doesn't get enough credit than what he gets deserved. I think he's very underrated. He's South Sydney. Luckily they kept him. There was talks around many years ago that South Sydney weren't going to keep him and let him go, and good God that South Sydney kept him, actually, because he's a top player, underrated. Does his work pretty well, and a player that South Sydney be lucky to have, actually. What's this? Brian Toe top try scorer. Yeah, I reckon he'll be in for a shout of being a top try scorer for the Rugby League World Cup for Samoa. Oh, he's saying Ronaldo Mulitalo. Ronaldo Mulitalo, top try scorer. Wouldn't be a bad shout, actually, with the fact that New Zealand Kiwis have got a good four-pack and a good halves pairing, and Ronaldo Mulitalo will definitely score quite a few tries. So, not a bad shout there, actually. Flash Tago's asking, who do you go for in the AFL? I don't follow the AFL. I don't watch it. So, I'm not a fan of the AFLs. What do you think of the potential Peachy and Staines swap deal? Staines. I think Staines is hanging around Penrith. I don't think Staines is going anywhere, to be completely honest. I think Peachy is an interesting player. I personally am not really a big fan of him, but he's got the talent. But I'm not really a big fan of Peachy, to be quite honest. But Charlie Staines, look, I think Charlie Staines cops a lot of criticism, but I think in the finals, I thought he played particularly well. So I think Penrith, I don't know. I mean, apparently he's already said his contract to Penrith and he's not going anywhere. So I don't know what can make out of that, but I heard there's talks that he won't go anywhere. Let's Go Bulldogs is asking your thoughts on Hammer signing with the Dolphins. Yeah, it's a big loss for the North Queensland Cowboys. I mean, I was a bit surprised that they did not keep him, because he's very talented. He's quick. He's very quick, and he can score tries as well. So I'm a bit surprised that the Cowboys did not hang on to him, actually. And I think it's a great signing for the Dolphins. Very good signing, actually. National Sports Loaders asking here, you excited to see Suna at the World Cup this year? Suna Taruva, yes, for sure. I mean, watching him early in this year when he played, I thought he was very good in that game, even though Fiji went down. Fiji went down to, I think it was Papua New Guinea they played in that game. So, yeah, I mean, he's a good player, and he's come through the Penrith. He's played for Penrith this year, and I think he got the New South Wales Cup Player of the Year as well for the Panthers and that. So yeah, look, he's a good player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the World Cup. Peripes asking your thoughts on Jackson Ford. Jackson Ford, yeah, look, I don't really rate the signing. I mean, I think he's an okay player, but he's a player that's only pretty much there in terms of depth. And look, Jack Murchie's gone to the Parramatta Eels, and I think Jack Murchie, for me, I probably would have preferred us to keep Jack Murchie. Although Jack Murchie does not play a lot of first grade for the Warriors, I mean, I would have preferred to keep Jack Murchie for me. But Jackson Ford, he's okay, but I think he's more of a bit of a depth signing, to be completely honest. But, who knows? We'll see what happens next year. SS Storm fan is asking who will win in the race, Talangi or Sab. Oh, look, I think Jason Sab would be pretty quick, actually, but Talangi's not bad as well, so I'll probably say Jason Sab. Electrical Dust is asking who should the Warriors versus round 1 next year or buy? Look, as a Warriors fan, I want to see us play someone, a top team. I don't really want to see us play a bottom side at the start of the year, but we probably will play someone like a Titans or a Dragons and that, because that's who we played this year. I want to see us play someone different, actually. I wouldn't mind us playing Penrith in round 1. I mean, why not? I mean, test yourself against the best early on the season. Why not? I mean, I love to see us play Penrith, actually. I wouldn't mind it. First game of the season, Penrith, defending premiers. I really hope we play Penrith, but it'll be someone like a Tigers or Dragons or Raiders. We'd probably play someone like them in round 1. Tigers fan 00. How you doing, Tigers fan 00? Hope you're doing well. He's asking here, what position do you think the Warriors should really look to sign someone? Well, look, I mean, our 4-pack's fine. I don't mind our 4-pack. I think still we're a bit weak in the outside backs. I mean, centres, you got your young players like Valet and that, I think will do pretty well. You got your experienced player like Dylan Walker. Your hooker, you've got Wade Egan, and I like Wade Egan. I really rate Wade Egan. There's some people that don't rate him, but I think Wade Egan's had a very good year for the Warriors. So I'll probably say somewhere in our outside backs department. I mean, just a bit of depth there, and I think of halves. Our halves are okay. I mean, we've got a little bit of depth here in the halves next year, but probably centres for me. Kobe is asking here, how do you think the Eels went this year? Oh, look, the Eels definitely, surprised me. I think with the Eels, it's been the fact that they've been inconsistent, but if you look at the way they finished this year, they made the grand final, which was an outstanding effort by them. There's myself included, I've got to say that I was proven wrong that they could make the grand final. I thought after week 1, losing to Penrith, thought they would be, the same thing that would happen again like many times. They'll go out in straight sets. And they made the grand final, which was a good effort by them this year. And although they didn't win the grand final, and that'd be the most heartbreaking thing for a Parramatta Eels fan, which, I know I can feel what you feel, because as a Warriors fan, I felt it as well in 2011 when we lost in the grand final. So, look, I think Eels had a good season. I mean, to make the grand final, they came up against one of the best teams in Penrith, and I think, I think this year for me, was a huge opportunity. Parramatta had to win the premiership, and they didn't really deliver, and they didn't win it. So I don't know if they can win it next year, but I could be wrong. But I think with the loss of players, I think it may take a while for them to get back to where they were this year. So yeah, I think they had a good season. What player will be the most improved next season? What player will be the most improved? Oh, who do I go with? That's a very good question. Electrical dust, very good question. I will say who yeah, I'm gonna go with Matt Burton. I'll go Matt Burton. Yeah, I mean that might. Yeah, Matt Burton had an all right year this year, but I think he'll be a lot better next year. So I'll say Matt Burton. Let's go Bulldogs. Asking Dylan Brown or Matt Burton, who's better? Well, they're both very good players. They're both very young. Obviously, Dylan Brown, I think he's had a good season. I think this is one of his best seasons in a long time for Parramatta Eels. Dylan Brown, he's going to be playing for the Kiwis at the Rugby League World Cup. I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes, and I reckon Dylan Brown will play a big part in the Kiwis World Cup hopes. So look, I like both of them, so I can't really answer who's better. I really like both of those players. So yeah, I mean Dylan Brown, he's probably got a bit more on Matt Burton, but I like both of them. So yeah. Tigers fan 00 is asking here, who do you think will be the perfect but realistic outside back to sign? Look, realistic outside back. Well, there's not too many ones on the open market at the moment in terms of off field, off contract signings. So, good question, Tigers fan 00. That's tough actually because there's not many off contract. But if there was a player on, you look at actually no, I'll probably say. No, that's a tough one. I can't really answer, right? I can't really answer that one. I'm sure. I think, yeah, look, it's a tough one to answer, to be completely honest. I mean, there's not too many off contract right now, is there? So if I had to pick a player, I'd probably have to go through the list and have a look again. But I'll answer you back later on that one. A surprising signing do you think could happen? A surprising signing that you think could happen? Well, I would say Cameron Munster signed with the Dolphins, but that can't happen anymore. So, yeah, I mean, a surprising signing. Brandon signing with the Roosters was a bit of a surprise signing, really, to be honest, but that's already happened, to be completely fair. So, yeah. Tigers fan 00 saying, yeah, Burton will have a mad season next year. Receiving the ball from Marnie, setting up kick out will be in the same combination. Yeah, and know what? The Bulldogs, I reckon, next year will be a lot better. And although they had a very tough start to this season, then they had a pretty good back end of the season when Potter came in. The Dogs' attack looked much better. They were they were throwing a lot more, in terms of the opposition. So, yeah, I think the Bulldogs next year will be a team to watch out for in terms of, making the finals possibly. So, you look at the players they've got next year. You've got Marnie, you've got Kekau, you've got Cameron Serrato coming in there. So I think the Bulldogs are a team to watch out for next season. I think they will definitely be on the improve for sure. Player of the year for the Bulldogs in 2022 says, let's go Bulldogs. Well, I'll probably say Matt Burton. Matt Burton, I mean, that's pretty much an easy answer for me in terms of the Bulldogs player this year. So another question here is saying from Varane, saying, do you think the Panthers can take the premiership for the next 2 years? Oh, look, as an NRL fan, as an NRL fan in general, I do hope that, someone else wins the premiership. I hope we don't see a team, dominant for the next 3 to 4 years. Can the Panthers win the premiership for the next 2 years? Well, they can. They're not really losing too many players. They're only losing Kikau or Episode Coruscant, which I think is a big loss. But that's pretty much all they're missing. They're not missing too many players. If they can keep their squad together for the next couple of years, then possibly they could create a dynasty in the NRL. But obviously, I hope not, because I want to see someone else different win the premiership for the next couple of years. But can they win it for the next 2 years? Well, they definitely can, but obviously I hope not. I want to see someone else different win it next year. Do you think Reed Marnie is a big loss for the Eels? Yeah, absolutely. I think he is a big loss for Parramatta next year. They're also losing Papali as well. I think next year will be a rebuilding year for Parramatta. I don't think they'll be in the grand final next year. I think they'll definitely still be in the finals. I think they'll still be a top 8 side, but I think the next couple of years, I think they'll be rebuilding from this year's grand final. So I don't know if they can make the grand final next year, but they can definitely get back there. But I don't think next year they will be there. I think definitely top 8 next year for Parramatta, but I don't know if they'll be top 4. Backwards player of 2023. Electrical Dust, you're answering some very tough questions, but some good questions. I like it. Backwards player of 2023. Oh, I don't really like picking on players. I don't like doing that. But backwards player of the year. Who's going to go backwards next year? Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, to be completely honest, and I don't like to single out players and that. So, who do I think will be backwards player next year? Who will be backwards player? No, I don't. I can't really say anyone actually. So I can't really say anyone, to be fair. Sorry, I can't really say anyone on that one. Cameron Munster will link up with Munster next year. He will definitely will. I think Storm will be a lot more better than when he's there next year. When Cameron Munster and Munster both on the field together. Kobe is asking here a question, which, it will have a bit of controversiality about it. Do you think the Panthers were a bit rude to Para when they partied? Look, there's a lot of people that don't like what Penrith did in their celebrations. A lot of people called them arrogant, cocky, but for me, look, how do I put this? I think Penrith, won the premiership at the end of the day. So when you win the premiership and you go back to back, so they should party. They should party. I think they should be allowed to party what they want. And I think the only thing I will say is with Coruscant, I think episode Coruscant was a little bit disrespectful to the Tigers. I think that was the only thing that I don't agree with on terms of the partying and that. So, yeah, look, I think that's about it. The other thing is Jerome Luai. There's a lot of talk around Jerome Luai and that and what he did and what he said. And, look, Jerome Luai, people call him a grub and that, but, look, I'd probably say he is a bit of a grub on the field, a little bit of a grub on the field. But in terms of what he said, when you're drunk and you've had a lot of drinks and you're partying afterwards, players say stupid things. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to say too much, but yeah, that's all I'll say on that topic. Tigers fan 00 is us saying here that the Panthers are losing Coruscant, but they have Sonny Luke coming through the ranks, who's similar to Coruscant. Obviously not as good, but definitely has the potential. Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the New South Wales Cup team that played in their state championship on Sunday afternoon, that Penrith side has bundles of talent, and they've also won the SG World Cup this year. They've won pretty much majority of the grades. Penrith, they've just got talent across the board. So, look, they're not gonna struggle to find depth next year for sure. But obviously, Coruscant, he is a big loss in that. But you've got your Sonny Lukes, like you said there. So another good young player coming through. And Sonny Luke is playing as well at the World Cup this year as well. So be interesting to see whether he gets a lot of game time there. Electrical Dust is asking you, do you think Penrith versus Para will be a rivalry, or is it a rivalry? I'll say not quite. Look, I don't think it's a rivalry. I really don't. I mean, you can't really call it a rivalry after just the grand final this year. And although Parramatta and Penrith, they're both from Western Sydney and that, and they both. I don't know if how much hate Penrith and Parramatta fans, in terms of rivalry gets, but I don't think it's a rivalry. No, I can't really call it a rivalry. I mean, the media will call it a rivalry. They'll make it a big deal because it's a grand final. Like they made out that Souths and Penrith were a rivalry, which it wasn't. So, yeah, look, the media will make it a rivalry, but I don't think it is. Tigers fan 00 is asking here, is this Penrith side possibly the best side of the NRL era? Oh, look, winning back-to-back is great. It's a great achievement, and no team's ever done it since the Roosters did it, the Broncos did it. I mean, is it the best side of the NRL era? Oh, I can't say it is right now. I mean, yes, they've done pretty well to win 2 in a row, but I think if you win 3 or 4 in a row, then maybe you can put it in that bracket. So right now, I'll probably say no, but Penrith, winning back-to-back, there's no easy feat, and it's a great achievement in itself. So I'll probably say right now it isn't. Keith Whitelock, how's it going, Keith Whitelock? Hope you're doing well. He's saying your thoughts on a second New Zealand NRL team. Look, do we have the talent? That's the big question. I mean, New Zealand Rugby League's got tons of players, but do we have the talent? Right now, I think it'd be great to have a second New Zealand team, but at the moment, I think with the Warriors at the moment and COVID and, I think the focus needs to be purely kept on the Warriors and try and get the Warriors to be a better NRL side because, yes, it'd be great to have a second NRL New Zealand team, but I don't think the NRL right now would warm to the idea of having another one right now because, the money it comes with as well also. So, look, I'd love to see a second New Zealand team, but right now, I'll probably say not at the moment. Who's your favourite NRL player in NRL history? Our favourite NRL player in NRL history? Boy, for me, Billy Slater. Billy Slater, yeah, he was one of my favourite players, of all time. So I've got Billy Slater. I've got Jonathan Thurston. Yes, I'm naming Queensland players, and some people might not like that, but Billy Slater, Jonathan Thurston for me, for sure. I mean, 2 very great Queensland players, and Billy's a current NRL or current Queensland coach, so yeah, I'll go with those 2. Electrical Dust is saying here, what do you think of the Manly situation? Well, look, there's a lot of talk that there'll be a new coach at the Seagulls. I think Des Hazler hasn't done a bad job, actually. Although they didn't make the finals this year, I think the previous year, they made the top 4 as well. So, look, Des Hazler's done not a bad job, and there's been talks around him leaving. This may be his last year next year, or he might be leaving. He might not be coaching next year at the Seagulls. So, I think the Seagulls this year, I think where it came unstuck was when that jersey the jersey situation happened, and that pretty much railed this season, and it affected them for sure. I mean, you can see that it really did. So, look, I think if that didn't happen, I think the Seagulls probably would have been in the finals. I think they've been contending for top 8. So, yeah. Electrical Dust here saying Valenti says he wants the NRL to have a draft. Wants clubs to be on board? Thoughts? Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. I don't think it'll work in the NRL. It's worked in other sports, NBL, NBA, basketball. It's worked. AFL, it's worked. I don't think it'll work in the NRL personally. I just don't like it. I just don't like the idea of it, and I don't think it really work in my opinion. I mean, I don't think it would help the NRL. AC Storm says it's called the Battle of the Worst. Tigers fan 000 is saying here, Panthers and Para definitely rode. I think 1-2 each this year. Panthers won the last 2 that mattered. Players hate each other. Fans hate each other even more. Fair enough. Tigers fan 000. I see your point, but look, I personally don't think it's a rivalry. And yes, they made the grand final this year, though, both those teams, but I don't think you can call it a rivalry, in my opinion. But some people may have other opinions on it, so fair enough. Electrical Dust is saying North Sydney Bears just got millions of dollars invested in to be planned to be the 18th team. Thoughts? Well, North Sydney, we know they've been, they've been in the NRL before. I don't know if they've got millions of dollars invested in them. I mean, are they going to do well in the NRL? That's a big question. I think the NRL has too many Sydney teams, in my opinion. I think there's way too many Sydney teams. I think, if you look at the membership numbers of Sydney teams in particular, if you look at the teams, you got your Bulldogs playing at a core stadium. They don't get many people there in that ground. You've got your other small grounds like your Belmore Ovals and that, your Leichhardt Ovals. The likes of the Tigers even play big grounds now, and they don't get many crowds as well. So, if the North Sydney Bears were to come in, I think you'd have to play them in their own stadium, but just don't play them in a big venue. I mean, I think if you play them in a big venue like ANZ Stadium, and that, I think you're not going to get a big crowd. You're not going to get many people in. So it's interesting, though. It'll be interesting if they do come in. But I personally think right now that 17 teams is enough at the moment. Even then, I question whether we should have a 17 team right now and the rush to get them in and that. So, yeah. That's just my general thoughts on it. Tigers fan 0, and Penrith have only lost 10 games in the last 3 years. Majority of those would have been during the Origin period when they were players. I'd have them as the best team of all time now. Fair call. I see where you're coming at there. Kobe is asking here, do you think Brad can stay at Para for the rest of his coaching life? Oh, look, I think Brad Arthur, gets a ton of criticism. I mean, the media will make out, that, next year, look, you watch next year, Parramatta, if they are struggling, the media will hammer Brad Arthur. They'll say that he should be, that he's under pressure and he'll get sacked and that. So, look, I think Brad Arthur's not a bad coach, actually. I don't really mind him as a coach. I mean, yes, they didn't win the Premiership this year, but look, Brad Arthur's did pretty well to get them to that grand final this season. So, Brad Arthur, should he stay for the rest of his coaching life? Look, it depends what Parramatta want. Depends on what they think. Whether they want to keep him for the next couple of years, that's the question. National Sports Loaded saying, do you see Tapau in the South next season? If so, how much of an impact will he bring in the 4-pack? Yeah, Martin Tapau, I reckon there's talks around him going to South Sydney from what I've heard. Even the Tigers have come out of the blue. So I don't know about the West Tigers. I mean, I've heard West Tigers are a team being named as well. But if he goes to South next year, well, that's interesting, actually. I think the 4-pack's pretty good at the moment, and it'll make them a lot stronger as well. So he'll definitely add a bit of impact there. But I think Martin Tapel, over the last couple of years, I think he's been a bit. I don't think he's been as great as he was. I think this year's been quiet, not at his best there. So I think if he goes to South, he'll definitely do all right under Jason Demetrio. But South have also got a good 4-pack as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does there. Electrical Dust is saying here the Bears will relocate if they join says depends on the success of the 17th team, the Redcliffe Dolphins. Are interesting there. They may not relocate, it depends. Tigers fan 00 is saying I meant to say Penrith is the best team of the NRL era. Not all time. St George's 11th in a row. Paris of the 80s. Broncos of the 90s and the early 2000s are all better for sure. Fair enough. Fair call. That's a very fair call. But anyways, guys, I think that wraps it up. This live Q&A for tonight. We've gone for an hour and 36 minutes here, so we'll wrap it up now. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you are a new viewer to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the live stream as well. And if you're watching it back, make sure you like the video. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Have a good night. Have a good rest of the week, evening. And yeah, I'll see you all for the next one. See you, everyone. Good night.